Chapter 6. This chapter talks about Mr. Hawkins, who the book talks about actually throughout every chapter, gives a little bit more information on him and what he's really thinking of. So he's a history teacher, and he's been teaching for a number of years, is close to retirement, and he grew up in a fairly middle-class family. He didn't know what it was like to be poor. He didn't know anything about poverty, but he's been learning as he's teaching all these different factors that are going on in these students' lives, and not really these factors from their home life or from their past really reach into the classroom and affect what happens in the classroom and with their education. So, I'm going to outline kind of a day in the life of Mr. Hawkins, what happens before class, and then during class and at the beginning and end of class. So before class, he's learned through doing research and kind of like we talked about through this whole presentation, before class to collect data. So this is pre-assessments, it's what they learn or what they like to learn or what they know about life. He also plans, goes through his lesson in advance and asks questions such as, how will I engage students, or how will I make this content be memorable or become alive? He makes personal preparations for himself. He just gets himself in a positive state, so when his students are there, then he is ready to go and ready to teach. And then he also makes sure that his classroom is positive, and that he has posters up that are positive, and just the lighting is comfortable and different things like that. So he also does not, in that instance, he doesn't stress over things he can't change. He deals with what he has. So the first 10 minutes of class, he greets the students at the door every Monday morning. Says, good morning, I hope that you had a great weekend, it's good to see you. But Monday is the only day he does this, so he's just really making Monday special, and it gets the kids excited to see him every Monday. And he gets started, he actually plays a class song that his students chose, and he plays it so that the students have a little bit of time at the beginning of class to talk to each other for about a minute or two. And then he also gets this chance or this time to visit with the students and just see what's going on in their lives. He next divides his students into teams, and they have a point system in their class that ensures that they're participating. And then he takes care of all the administrative tasks that typically happen in a classroom. He tries to connect personally with them, and this is still, remember, all happening in the first 10 minutes of class. And then he runs through a quick review with them to kind of get their brains warmed up or jump-started for the class. Moving into the core class time, when he's really doing the bulk of the teaching or whatever instructional strategy that he's chosen, he makes it relevant. And it's important to remember that these are all good things we can use in our own classrooms, and the main point of this chapter is really relating what Mr. Hawkins has done to our classrooms and to our lives as we're teaching these students. So make your core class time relevant. For me personally, I'm planning on being a math teacher, so making this math that I'm teaching relevant to the students' lives is a challenge, but when things are relevant to your life, you're so much more excited to learn and even more willing to learn, for that matter. So, Mr. Hawkins, for example, makes the topic relevant and interesting. Like, he gives them a teaser maybe about the topic, and maybe a scandal gets the kids' attention. And he also works on building hope during his lesson. So, he asks students about their dreams and then gives them affirmation on that, and tries to just build that hope within his students. He also uses strategies to build the operating system like we talked about in Chapter 5. And he also gets students moving around in his class because when students are doing an action or moving around, they're more likely to remember things that they learned. And he talks about just some different games that his favorites, or his students, really liked. Alright, so going on, finishing out the core class time, then after he would get the students active, he would frame the content, so kind of set it up, ready to go, and then he would present the main content. So, either breaking it up, so the students are rotating these different topics, or setting them up to maybe do some research on a topic. That really gets them involved and isn't boring. It's getting them engaged. And then he also corrects errors and he elaborates on different things. And learning by making mistakes rather than being lectured at really requires a safe environment that provides a lot of opportunities to make errors. And it just is very beneficial for both the teacher and the student. So going into the last 10 minutes of class time, he puts this time aside at the end of every class to review different things that they've talked about, maybe review things during that same lesson, but also throughout the last week or 2 weeks. And then he assigns homework during this time and will also provide some individual help for students. And then he makes sure that students clean up in a productive way and kind of gives the students responsibility for their own classroom. And this is going back to the teams that he puts students in and their point system that he has. And he's also using this time to build relationships with the students. And then the very last minute of class, he just closes up the day and leaves them maybe a cliffhanger story for the next lesson or a visualization of success. So leaves them with something positive at the very end of class. So looking at role models, some people may say that his class maybe has a lot of fluff in it and not much substance, but really, it does. But that's what these students need to succeed. And so if you have a teacher in your school that's a good role model for this, or hopefully you have many teachers in your school like this, but take time to go observe them. Maybe if there's only one teacher, have your principal maybe sit in on a class period so you can go observe or see what's working for them and what's not. Obviously, this is all catered to the individual needs of our students in every school or every classroom. So, I'm going to leave you with this last quote. Is it time for you and your school to take the plunge? Are you up for the challenge? Breathe easy. You can do it. Join the efforts, sell the vision, make the plans, take action, and join the celebration.